And that was it. My mindset was changed because I had physically seen somebody who had achieved what I wanted to achieve. And then it didn't matter what you told me about how you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. I witnessed it with my own eyes, someone else doing it.
That sport was a great platform for me for success, and that was later on. But all the challenges and obstacles that I've overcome in my life up to that point gave me the toolkit that I needed.
Today's video is an extremely important video, and it is about moving forward despite having a disability. It is with two absolute legends, gold medalist Richard Whitehead and ex-Royal Marine Mark Ormrod, triple amputee. These two people, for me, I think give light and hope to so many people. They are more than abled. They are successful, they run their own businesses, they are pushing forward on a day-to-day basis, and all whilst managing a disability, or as people call it, a disability. These two guys in this video explain exactly how they move forward and how you could move forward as well. This video was sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, the best motivational clothing brand in the world, linked in the description, where you can get the Rise and Grind t-shirts and the new book, linked down below. Before that, moving forward with disability with Mark Ormrod and Richard Whitehead. And although this may be applicable to people who are managing their own disability, this is also applicable to everybody. This is applicable to everybody in life, and these lessons are applicable to everybody in life. So ears up, let's listen to this video with Mark Ormrod and Richard Whitehead.
People with disabilities have their impairments through different circumstances, and that can be through an accident, whether that's a road traffic accident or whether that's in service, or through an illness such as cancer. But I was born with my disability. So though some people say I've not had the challenges and obstacles of those individuals that have lost their legs due to an accident or illness, but I've had to overcome those stereotypes all through my life, and those obstacles and challenges have been present from birth.
Is there a particular moment you can remember growing up, like where you was like realised the effects of that, or realised, you know, there's obstacles I have to overcome in life as a young person? Was there a moment at all that sticks out?
As all young people grow up in life, they're affected by their surroundings and environment, and I was lucky enough that I had lots of friends that accepted me to who I was, and maybe there were some adaptations that my friends and family made when I was growing up. But I think as you put yourself into those uncomfortable positions in life, that's when you realise that everybody has their own challenges, and everybody's going to be affected by some kind of disability or ability in their life. And for me, it was probably getting my running legs later in life that I realised that sport was a great platform for me for success, and that was later on. But all the challenges and obstacles that I've overcome in my life up to that point gave me the toolkit that I needed to access the skills that I need to communicate with my audience. And my audience are people, not just with people with disabilities, those individuals in life that are affected by mental or physical well-being, as well as those that maybe have those challenges that they have to overcome every day in their lives.
What were the lessons learned from early childhood then, in terms of mindset and having a positive outlook, by the sounds of it, like, and turning it into sort of the athletic career and everything?
When growing up, I look at the challenges that I've had, and it's really important not only just to have a positive mindset, because anybody can say you need to be positive. It's more about having those kind of tools and those life experiences and memories that you can pull back on. I'm not saying that every experience that I've had within life has been positive. I'm not saying that I've not had challenges to overcome or people's opinions to change. I've always stayed true to my own core values, and those are around resilience, hard work, trust, honesty, and leaving a lasting legacy for those that need that support and guidance. As I grew up, I was originally not really motivated by the education system, because I felt the education system didn't really encourage me to be the best person I could be in life and have no ceiling to my success. But I felt sport and the power of sport gave me that opportunity to shine. And my education was sport. And through sport, I've met so many empowering people that have enriched my life. But I think it's really important still to reflect on some of those really tough moments and then relate to people that are going through those hard times at the moment.
Well, so I'll tell you what was insane about the whole thing in the back of a helicopter is, you know, they checked me for a pulse, they checked me to try and put fluids in me, they couldn't. They put an oxygen mask on me, which should have steamed up, but it didn't. So that's why they said, okay, this guy's dead, leave him. Now, when one of the medics walked past me to get some equipment to work on the other guy, he said that my eyes started to flutter, which meant my heart was still beating. So he alerted some of the other medics, they came back, and 3 days before this incident, whoever is in charge of the army medical field had given the green light for this new technique to be used, where if you can't get intravenous lines into somebody's veins, you drill into their tibia and fibula and you put the line in there. So that's what they wanted to do to me. Problem being, my tibias and fibulas had been ripped off by this IED, so they had nothing to work with. Now, through their quick thinking and their courage, they thought, okay, we'll try his hip bone. So they drilled into my hip from the front and back, they put a line in. They said the first time that the skin was too loose, so it didn't bite. So they pulled it, they tightened it, and they put it in again. And they said the second time it bit, the fluids went in, and within like 3 minutes, they said I was back and I was awake and I was responsive and I was answering their questions coherently. I wasn't babbling, I was actually giving them legible answers. So they flew me back to Camp Bastion, to the temporary field hospital that was there. And the surgeons that were working that day had a look at the damage caused by the IED, and it was a mess. And they decided that the only way they were going to be able to save my life is if they took off both my legs above the knee and my right arm above the elbow.
So at that point, was you conscious? At what point did you wake up and start to have a realisation of the situation?
So like I said, I passed out when the Chinook landed, and I woke up 4 days later, on the 28th of December, in Selly Oak Hospital in Birmingham, in intensive care. I woke up for about 15 seconds and then just passed back out because I was exhausted.
And then the next point was would you have been after surgery? And
so what they did in intensive care, they kind of reduced the medication to bring you out of the coma. And I woke up for that first 15 seconds and I couldn't even open my eyes. I was so exhausted. And then I blacked out, but they kind of knew then that not that I was okay, but that I was making progress. So then they started reducing the medication, they brought me out of the coma, and then I spent 7 days in intensive care, each day spending more and more time awake in the real world, reducing the medication, so that I could gradually understand where I was, what had happened, and the severity of my injuries. And you know, they did it perfectly. You know, it wasn't like I woke up cold turkey and was like, where am I, what's happened, and started freaking out. It was like a gradual drip feed, day by day, over the course of a week, where initially I thought I'd lost my feet and some fingers, and by the end of 7 days I realised it was both legs above the knee and my right arm above the elbow.
Once you'd had that realisation, you'd been able to come to terms with the situation. What was your initial mind like? Like where was you at in your head?
Initially, I wasn't in a good place. You know, I was 24 years old. I was, at that time, 6'2", 16 stone, physically, I think at my peak. And then I woke up in hospital and I'm like 4'3". Because of losing 3 limbs and the infections I was fighting off, I was probably 8 stone 11, I think. And full of tubes and everything. And I also had a huge hole in my hand from a shrapnel wound. I could only use 2 fingers, and was just lying in bed thinking. That's all I could do. And initially I was not in a good place. But I had incredible support around me, you know, from my family, from the Royal Marines, all the doctors, nurses, surgeons, everyone around me just kind of came together to get me through those initial couple of weeks of dark thoughts and hardship. And it worked out, you know, it worked out in the end.
How do you go from being in such a negative place and dealing with a trauma at the exact same time as well, and turning it into a positive and starting to turn that around and start to work on your own mindset, your own mentality?
I think in the beginning, there was a lot of kind of falseness between me and the people around me. It was almost like false positivity. You know, if I was feeling bad, I would act like I wasn't. And if they were struggling, they would act like they weren't. And even though it was a little bit false, it helped. And it, you know, just trying to force a bit more of a positive atmosphere kind of really helped. And then 3.5 weeks into it, a doctor walked in. He wasn't part of my team, I'd not met him before. And he told me he was the UK's leading professional in the field of amputations. Like for 33 years at that point, he had been amputating people's limbs, following up their progress, and he was like the UK's guru. And he came in and said, I have never met anybody in my 33 plus years who's got one leg missing above the knee that has any success using prosthetics. So you need to start mentally preparing yourself for life in a wheelchair. And you've got to imagine, I've come from like alpha male peak to now at 24 years old. In my mind, thinking I need carers, people to wash me, people to feed me, you know, push me around in a wheelchair. And, you know, that's really not what I wanted to hear at that stage. I'm 3.5 weeks into my recovery. So that sent me into a spiral. And, you know, I don't mind admitting this, I contemplated suicide at that point. But about a week later, I got an unexpected visit in my hospital room, and a guy knocked on the door and he came in and he was wearing 2 prosthetic legs. And he was a double above knee amputee like I was. He had both his arms, but our legs were very similar. And he sat me down and he talked me through his journey. He had been hit by a suicide bomber in Iraq in 2005. He talked me through the journey of getting from the hospital to getting prosthetics, to regaining your independence, and what it was going to take, and you know, some of his highs and lows. And after about 6 hours he left, and that was it. My mindset was changed because I had physically seen somebody who had achieved what I wanted to achieve, and then it didn't matter what you told me about how you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. I witnessed it with my own eyes, someone else doing it, which meant to me there was no reason at all why I couldn't do it. And I knew I was missing the right arm, that was my dominant arm, but it didn't matter. You know, I saw this guy had done it, I listened to what he told me, and from that point on I was like, there's no way you can stop me. Give me the legs, give me the rehab, let's go.
Thank you so much to both these legends. I'm going to link all their stuff in the link in the description. I cannot thank them enough for the time, and for me, it's very humbling lessons from these guys. These 2 guys' stories are so inspiring to me, and the way that they've moved forward. Mark with the incident that happened where he stepped on an IED and he lost 3 of his limbs. He was told he was never going to walk again, told he was supposed to be in a wheelchair his whole life. A triple amputee had never lived a functional life, and he goes on to do it. And now he's runs extremely successful businesses. He's fantastic and works in the world of jiu-jitsu and, you know, all these incredible things. And it's the same with, I mean, Richard Whitehead has gone on to challenge some incredible, well, he holds world records, but he's gone on to challenge able-bodied records as well. He's got gold medals from the Paralympic Games. He's done some incredible feats of strength, no matter who you are. And this is the lesson that I am told. We're fully able-bodied people with everything in front of us, and we find a way to complain, and we find a way to say that you've got it stacked up against you, and we find a way to say that we're not as privileged as other people, or we're not in a position where we can be successful. And then there's people like Mark and Richard. Like, Mark was told he was never going to walk again. Like, never going to walk, he's never going to get out of a wheelchair again. And here he is as a successful man. So yeah, it makes me feel there is no excuses, you know. life is tough sometimes. Life is difficult. And these guys are pure examples of even though life is tough, you can still achieve exactly what you want to achieve. You can even have bigger impact. You can use the fact that you've got a shit situation and a difficult situation, and you can use that as fuel for the fire. You can use that to become even more successful. And I wonder if these guys would be as successful as they are if they didn't have their disabilities. So these are massive inspirations to me. Thank you so much to these guys. I'm going to stop talking. Take what you want from the video. You know, take what you want. Comment down below what you're taking. I'm interested. I'm really interested. Follow me on Instagram @JordanMulligan. Come say hello. Have a blessed and productive day. And I'll see you in the next one. Did I say that today's video was sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, the best motivational clothing brand in the world? If I didn't, it is. You can get the Rise and Grind t-shirts and Hardest Work in the Room t-shirts linked down below. And it basically keeps this going. It makes this possible, so thank you for all the support. Anyway, guys, have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.